This is episode number 319 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, why are you laughing at me? We're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Quag Williams.
Hello. Welcome to the Homeowner Show.
That was a little awkward, wasn't it? DIY. Why? It's always late when we do this, y'all. You know? It is what it is.
Well, why not?
You know what? There was a time when I had to read that.
That's right.
It's been a few episodes at this point.
It's been a minute. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. It's good. I'm exhausted. I've been chasing termites for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This has been the worst termite season I can remember in 15 years.
That is not encouraging.
So I mean, like it's just like showing up like all over the place, and like every conceivable way that I've ever found them in the past, like I'm having to use those skills to find them all now.
Yeah.
I was in a guy's house today. Like the only reason I found them is because I found mud tubes on the inside of his house, in between two seams of like wooden. What do you call that stuff on the inside when it's like, you know what I'm talking about? It's like thin wood, but you put it up on the walls.
Oh, like Luan? Oh, like I know what you're talking about.
But like I can't think of the word.
Yep.
That stuff.
Yeah, it's
Like where it meets in the corner and there's like a piece of quarter.
Yeah, quarter round because
Quarter round.
it's called the stuff.
Yep.
With the lines.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
the stuff.
Why are we so dumb
Is
right
it
now?
beadboard?
No. That's wainscoting or beadboard,
it's
but
wainscot.
No, it's not even that. No, it's paneling.
Paneling.
Wood paneling.
We'll go with wood paneling.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
exactly.
there was wood paneling on the wall, and he had quarter round in the corner, and the tubing was coming up from behind the quarter round, and like up in the ceiling.
Really?
And I just happened to look up, and I was like, "That's weird." And I was like, "I better go look outside." And they were going in through, like just a small. They didn't even, because usually what termites will do is they'll come up on a foundation and they'll go up into like a weep hole in the brick.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or they'll go up behind siding to get into the frame or whatever that. This had like a small crack in the foundation, and they were going into the crack in the foundation. And what I figured out later on is like this was an addition to a house, and so they went in through the crack and then found the other crack inside and got up through that way. Another one that I did earlier this week was you've seen houses around here, foundations crack all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's
All the time.
yeah, especially like if you're up in like Brazos Valley, like this.
Yeah, I mean, it can even be done correctly and still crack.
And it'll crack.
You know?
But like around here, it's not uncommon to see like the corner piece of the foundation just completely crack off.
Yep.
And this house, similar situation. They started seeing like mud tubes show up on the inside of the sheetrock, which is weird because usually like termites will eat like right up to the paint and then stop.
Oh, okay.
But I think there was places that had wallpaper, and so they kept coming. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I went outside and I couldn't find them. And I was like, well, there's a small like chunk cracked off on the foundation, but like the piece had never come off.
Oh, so they were.
And then, but like the crack in the foundation went below grade into the dirt.
Wow.
And so I just had to pull the piece off. And when I pulled the piece off, I was like, oh, there they are.
Oh,
Coming,
interesting.
You know, they're just hiding behind
So what's a
there.
wood tube?
Huh?
What mud tube? You call it a mud tube.
Mud
What is a explain what people? I know what it is. Explain to people what a mud tube is.
I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, termites and fire ants both build them.
Okay.
But like termites, I mean, it's just like it looks like dirt that's just almost looks like a vein.
Yeah.
Coming up out of the ground on the
it looks
side
a
of the
lot
foundation.
like if you were to build, like if you were to have an old school ant farm.
Yes.
It looks like an ant farm.
Like it looks like the tubes that ants build in ant farms when you look at them through the glass.
Yeah, so if you ever see a picture that looks like almost like weird petrified wood type of look, and it's probably termites.
Yeah, I mean, like if you were to back out, like zoom out 100x, it would kind of look. It would almost look like your brain.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
like if you looked at all of them together,
Yeah.
is what I mean.
Yeah.
And you could just isolate the tubes. It would look something like, or like the veins in your leg, or it would look something like that.
Sure.
Which is weird how like nature mimics biology, the internal biology. So, but cool stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, been dealing with that for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Wow.
So I'm doing 3 of them tomorrow. Like I'm doing treatments for 3 tomorrow.
Goodness.
And one of them that I'm doing tomorrow, the house is less than a year old.
Oh, wow.
So, and I didn't realize this, even like custom homes. And I was talking to I can't say names. I was talking to a major builder here in Texas, like building massive homes. And also they told me that they're pivoting away from luxury homes. Like no one's doing luxury homes right now.
Oh, really?
Nobody.
Why?
Because nobody can afford them.
Yeah, it's so expensive.
He goes, we're focusing on economic homes. And I said, what are you guys doing for pre-treats? He goes, oh, dude, we're not doing pre-treats. And I was like,
What?
why? And he goes, we don't have to.
Don't have to.
Yeah. And I was like,
Interesting.
okay. Yeah. And so that's one of the ways that they're saving money
Interesting.
on these constructions. And I'm not familiar with the laws on that. I mean,
Sure.
for years I thought it was mandatory, which is funny enough. That's what we're talking about this episode is some new laws that are
Yeah.
coming down the pipeline, but that homeowners need to be aware of.
Interesting.
That this is a big one because most people, I mean, young people, millennials, Gen Z, whatever the generation is, that's supposed to be buying houses that isn't, are being taught about home buying from their parents.
Right.
And I can promise you, all of their parents are telling them, well, if you go buy a new home, all those homes are pre-treated
Sure.
because that's the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
It's not being done anymore.
So, what does it cost in your estimation to pre-treat a home?
It depends.
Okay.
Because
On what?
I mean, in our industry, in the past, there was like 1, maybe 2 companies doing it.
Okay.
And because they had figured out how to batch it and make it super cheap.
Sure.
So they were knocking out, and they're doing it in bulk. So they could do it a lot cheaper than like smaller companies could do it. So they'll go into like a 5,000 home neighborhood and really what they're doing is they're working with the builder.
Right. Of course.
And so like you can have a neighborhood with like 6 different builders,
But they're working with the neighborhood and they're working with the builder, whatever.
Yeah, so it varies. I mean, that's the roundabout way of saying that. But I would guess right now, if one of those guys were to jump in, they would be knocking it out for $200 to $300 a lot.
See, I was thinking 500. Which sounds like someone who's not batching it could probably do it for 500.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you even do that, but you might come in and say, hey, I can do it for 500, whatever.
So I'll get called in by a custom builder who wants to do it for like a 10 to 12,000 square foot home.
Okay.
And that's a totally different ballgame.
It'd be, yeah.
And I can do it now without putting any chemical in the ground.
Okay.
So it's like, there's different ways of doing it. But like mine's going to be way more expensive.
Sure. But I'm even thinking, like, even if you spent $1,500, $2,000, whatever, to get it done, it's worth it. I mean, unless you're doing, I mean, most people should be doing their quarterlies anyway, right? Like,
yes, and this is going to sound weird. I actually don't think it's worth it.
oh, okay.
I don't, because I can tell you every single house, just about every single house, because most houses that I'm treating for termites were built before 1985,
Okay, that's fair.
right? And all of those were pre-treated. Let me tell you the number of houses that I've treated for termites that were pre-treated. All of them.
All of them.
So like it doesn't stop anything.
Delays it.
Yeah. If
But are
if
those
anything.
people also doing quarterlies or not? I mean, I know that is not like a
It's not a
failed,
stopgap.
It's not a, no.
Yeah. So 50-50.
Okay.
So
Just, I mean, the biggest thing, and you actually did a reel about it today. The biggest thing that I would say is just keep an eye out on your property. Like, if you're not walking your property, like walking around your house every week,
right.
like you should at least once a week walk around your house and
Get some vitamin D.
just take a look, just inspect. I mean, I'll tell you what's crazy right now is fire ants. They're all over the place.
Oh yeah, because
And so-
we've had a lot of late spring rain that
Right.
just draws them up to the surface.
right. So I mean, like, especially if you've got kids or if you got pets or anything, like you ought to be checking on that kind of stuff and just looking. There's wasps everywhere right now. Just start spotting those things.
Right.
And if you see anything that looks a little weird, call someone and just say, can you, and I appreciate what you said. Like, just send me a text and like,
Yeah, take a
show
picture.
me a picture and I'll let you know, is that dangerous or not? And half the time it's like, oh, that's a swarm. It's not a big deal. Just watch it, make sure they leave. Right. You know?
There was one I stopped at today. It was actually an office building. They had swarmers inside the building.
Oh yeah.
And which, I mean, like that's a big, like, danger, Will Robinson.
Yeah.
We get somebody on this immediately. So I get there, and sure enough, there's a bunch of swarmers on the inside of the building.
Ugh.
And I start poking around, and all of them are on one wall and by windows. And so I start looking around, and I was actually training a guy, so it was really awesome. I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong here. This is perfectly fine. And he's like, what are you talking about? There's swarmers all over the inside. I said, yeah, look on the outside on the windowsill. I was like, what do you see? And he goes, there's a pile of wings. And I said, yeah, because they all landed outside, which means they didn't come from inside. They swarmed from outside, landed on that windowsill, and then came in through the window because the window's not sealed properly.
Right.
So, and now we know that these windows are not keeping bugs out. And so we can assure the building owner that everything's going to be fine.
Sure.
All we got to do is just spray the wall where these guys walked in so they don't set up a new colony inside, which they weren't going to. The HVAC system was going to whack them. I mean, HVAC systems are great at killing bugs.
Sure.
And so just, having somebody that's willing to be a little curious, and just poke around a little bit,
Right.
I mean, we were doing it all day today. Cause I mean, today was just a nightmare. I mean, it like the neighborhood I was in, it looked like it was snowing.
Oh,
There were so many swarmers. And on not just like one street, like every street I went on, it was just like, and people were coming outside freaking out.
well, and it's going to get worse over the next week. I mean, we got a ton of rain.
Yeah.
That's going to just,
It's supposed to rain again on Wednesday.
yeah. Well, it could rain tomorrow. But like yesterday at my house, and again, who knows if my gauge is right, but if my gauge is right, we got 2.25 inches yesterday.
Yeah. It was it was a heavy rain.
Came hard and fast, and it is what it is. So
Yeah.
well, listen, we got to start off with some, sponsors.
Give them some love.
All right, let's start off with Lone Star Appliance Repair. Guys, if you are in the market for a new appliance, my suggestion before you do that is to consider whether or not your other appliance can be repaired, fixed, overhauled, cleaned. We actually had a really interesting scenario the other day at my house. So we were my wife and I had a Broadway show we went to go see, and my mother-in-law was keeping our kids. And my wife was like, hey, it's been a busy week. Do you mind just throwing some stuff in the laundry? She's like, sure. So she messaged us, and she goes, your washing machine won't let me wash your clothes. I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, it says it has to be cleaned first. So our washing machine has a setting on it that whenever it gets to a certain number of cycles, it will not wash again until you throw one of the cleaning tablets in it to actually clean it, which it does a decent job of.
Very curious how it even senses that.
It's just a number of cycles. That's all it is.
Interesting.
And so,
it counts.
it
That's
counts.
easy. Okay.
Yeah. So my mother-in-law's, I've never heard of that. And I was like, well, these new you've never had a high efficiency washing machine. And I said, the new ones, they require cleaning just because of the way they work. And she was like, yeah, I've never heard of that before. And I said, you probably also don't know that most washing machines need a regular maintenance plan on them. And that there are maintenance plans that Lone Star Appliance Repair offers. So if you're in the market for any of those things, then give them a call. They are a great company to work with. 936-647-2364. And I'm going to let you handle the next one, which is True
Texas Solar
and Roofing.
Look, there's been a lot of ugliness going on around solar lately. I can think of one post right now that was circulating Facebook where talking about somebody that was taken advantage of and screwed on a home sale where they weren't able to sell the house because they owed so much on their solar, and so much of this just comes from misinformation and just lies
Right.
and thievery on the part of some of these dishonest companies, which is why we're excited to actually represent an honest one that makes its stamp in the community by educating and being honest and doing what's right by people and honestly talking some people out of getting solar because it's not a good fit for them.
Yeah, I was talking to Josh about this just the other day. I had to call him about something else, and he and I were chatting, and I was like, "Hey, what about that?" I said I saw the post that was put up by a realtor in our area, and I was about to comment, hey Josh, what do you think about this? Who's the owner of True Texas
He was
Solar?
already on it,
and he had already put this whole thing on there, and I was like, yeah, see, that's the thing is like not everybody are scumbags out there.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons we started this show to begin with was to help inform you, the listeners, of really good people that are out there, how not to get scammed out of the things you're doing. And Josh and his team over at True Texas Solar and Roofing, they're doing things really, really well. So, and here's the other thing. We talk about solar with them all the time. They have a top-notch roofing team as well.
Yeah, and they're getting more into the solar shingles from what I've heard.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for a new roof, they can help you with that even if you don't need solar. And here's the thing. They're not going to try to sell you on solar if you need a new roof.
Right.
Okay. If all you need is a new roof and you just need help with doing that, they would love to help you.
They get you patched up.
They absolutely will. So give them a call, 936-286-8325. And now we've got our newest sponsor, which is Crazy Clean.
Crazy Clean.
Crazy Clean is a super amazing product. We were fortunate to have them on our show not too long ago. It's a real simple little device. It looks kind of like a cone, and you just put it in your toilet tank.
Yep.
And there's no chemicals in it. It's not going to turn your water blue or anything like that. It's just this little cone that has magnets in it, and it chemically changes your water through magnets rather than actual chemicals. So
it's a game changer, man. And I love simple technology that changes people's lives because to me, like if you're a clean and tidy kind of person, one of the like ugliest things that you can have going on for your house when your guests come over is to have just an ugly ring in the toilet.
Yeah.
Because people think that there's other things going on, even though it's not. You could just have hard water. You could. I mean, there could be all sorts of things going on. But that's what's beautiful about this is it's so simple. You put it in, you forget about it, and it lasts for 10 years.
Yeah, at least. And the guy that was, the owner, Steve, he was like, look, we know it lasts for 10 years.
Yeah. That's why they guarantee it for 10 years.
It will probably it'll probably last for longer than that.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it's not that you'll never have to clean your toilet again. It's that you're never going to get water stains.
Yeah.
Which is a huge problem for many, many people because hard water is a thing. And so, rather than going in and scrubbing your toilet, that's the biggest thing. You're never going to have to scrub your toilet again.
Yeah.
You may have to, just wipe it down, but you don't even have to use chemicals to do that. You don't have to go in with Clorox or, anything like that to clean your toilet again. You can literally just go in with a rag or anything and just wipe it, and it will come clean. So
I tell you, I've been selling these things to home cleaning companies.
Oh yeah.
So because I'll just like my wife and I are super busy people. Like we both have multiple jobs and businesses and things like that going on in our lives. And finding time to clean the house is just ridiculous. So we hire somebody to do it. And they do a great job, but they love cleaning our house now because they don't have to spend as much time cleaning the toilet. And so I've been telling home cleaning companies like, look, buy them for your customers.
Sure.
Add it to your cost and just put it in the toilet. You're going to save time on the ground for your people cleaning.
Yep. And your customers are going to love it because it really does look better. It is a game changer. So they're pretty inexpensive. They're about $30 a pop. You can buy them in bulk to get all of your
discount for 4 right now.
Discount for 4. You can get all of them, all of your bathrooms taken care of. It's really easy to get a hold of them. It's Crazy Clean with 2 Ks, KrazyKlean.com. Get yours today. and we're glad to have them as a sponsor. So give them some love.
Yeah. So we got two pretty cool stories. I mean, not cool stories, just interesting stories that are very Texas specific. But I think even guys like our friend Eric G is going to be interested by this one. Let's start with this one because I think this one hit close to home for me because they're talking about, and this is which one? This is House Bill 3314, Texas House Bill 3314, to be specific.
Okay.
And it is relating to the energy efficiencies for residential construction. So they're talking about changing the law for residential construction.
All right.
And I mean, I think the long and short of it is, I think they're trying to make it as difficult as possible to put foam insulation in residential houses. And so there's two sides to this, obviously.
Sure.
You know, I never think it's a good idea to try and tell Texans what they can and can't do with their own property.
Doesn't go well most of the time.
So, I mean, you know, if you're going in and buying a house and that was the way it is, you made the decision to do it that way. But like if you're telling them how they can build a house, you know, obviously there's already building standards in place.
Sure.
But there's a lot of good press around foam insulation.
Well, yeah. I mean, this stuff is unbelievable.
Right.
I mean,
at
is-
efficiency.
It is so efficient, and it's a forever product.
Yes.
It doesn't break down. It doesn't go away. If you put spray foam in your home on year 1, on year 40, where other people have already like replaced their blown-in insulation multiple times, you've never replaced it.
Right.
You know?
I mean, just to back up on something that you said, whether or not it breaks down or not, as long as it's not exposed to UV.
Of course. I mean, there are reasons that it could.
And then I'll also add the caveat, as long as there's not moisture and carpenter ants.
Okay. There's lots of reasons why it could break down, but if you take care of your home,
if it's
and you do it, if it was, you know, installed correctly, if your home was built correctly, you know, there are reasons why you should never have that issue.
100%. But I will tell you, if carpenter ants get into it, good luck.
Well,
Good luck.
yeah. Well, because those things are going to burrow through everything.
Yep.
And it's just going to make it.
It's like
useless.
candy. I don't know what I don't know what it was. Like there was a commercial building that was completely spray foamed, and those carpenter ants just gutted it.
Ugh.
I found, I mean, just completely decimated the foam insulation.
Yeah.
We ended up having to scrape it all out just to even find them.
Goodness.
So anyway, I mean, like that's
that's
such like a
unique
fringe thing. But like, I just want people to know that like, I don't want people yelling at us in the comments. You morons! You said it wouldn't. It's like, okay, yeah, there's extenuating circumstances and things like that.
few and far between.
Yes. So there's that. Like, it's an incredible product. You can do amazing things. We've also we've spent a lot of time talking about like the difference between like closed cell foam, open cell foam,
Right.
and all this kind of stuff. And here's the thing. I read the bill. It's very confusing.
Of course it is.
And it actually doesn't even mention foam.
Oh.
What
Is it just the product that it's made with? Is that what it?
No.
what it-
Let me.
Okay.
Okay. Like this is section C. If insulation is installed below the roof deck and the exposed portion of the roof rafters is not already covered by air impermeable insulation, foam.
Wow. Yes.
Air impermeable insulation
Right.
is foam,
Yes.
right? So they put all this language around it so that it like we can't get in there and actually understand what's going on because it starts talking about like R values and zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, like all these different things. But like at the end of the day, what they're trying to say is we want to get rid of spray foam as an industry standard for residential. Now, what my friend Steve pointed out to me is a lot of this is coming from the people that manufacture standard insulation.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. I mean, there's okay. With every action, there's a reaction, and there's always a reason that something happens. So I was going to ask, what do we know? And that's the thing is because of how much this is catching on. And I talked, you and I talked to Steve a lot.
Yep.
And Steve, guys, look. If you want insulation put in your home, call Steve Spoon with Victory Insulation. He's not even sponsoring us, but I'll tell you right now, he's the best.
knows what he's talking about.
He's I've never, ever, ever come across an insulation expert like him. He is very well studied. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and he will tell you what you need and what you don't need. And he's not out to make money off of you. He will answer your questions without taking your money first.
Right.
So, really great guy. But you've got him and so many of these insulation guys that will tell you like spray foam is great. Now there are situations where it's not, and you've got to make sure that you retrofit your home if you're going to add spray foam and not replace it with something that you've already had if it's blown in or something like that. But that being said, I can only imagine that these blown in people that are manufacturing cellulose and fiberglass insulation are going, wait, hold the phone.
Yeah.
No, we don't want that. Even though it's so much more expensive, the longevity of it and the energy efficiency of it is so much better that it's still worth it for a lot of people. If you're going to own your home for a long time, why would you put in blown in when you can put in spray foam and not deal with it again?
Right.
But yeah. I assumed that was probably what it was, but now we know.
Now we know. So so that's part of it. The other part, and I think people need to recognize this. I think sometimes with bills like this, you're treating the symptom rather than the problem, right? And so I think spray foam is the symptom of a bigger problem, and that problem is, and we can talk about this more when we get in the roofing side of stuff because we're talking about licensing, but we have a product that's being managed by HVAC companies that are licensed that aren't treating it properly.
Okay.
Right. And so, and I hate to even put it this way, but because I think there's a problem when we have licensed HVAC techs that don't understand how foam works on new construction.
Dude, I'm telling you that if you don't believe us, go back and listen to our episode where we talked about my mother-in-law's house.
Right.
Because we built a house for my mother-in-law on our property, and we went through this exact same problem where the HVAC people don't know what they're doing, and they not only recommended but convinced her to go a certain route with her air conditioning system, and she had to turn around and spend a whole lot more money and is still dissatisfied. It's better than it was, but she's still dissatisfied with what she's got. And she has spray foam in her home, and the contractor just didn't know what they were doing. So
the HVAC contractor. Let's be clear.
Yeah, the spray foam guys knew exactly what they were doing. The HVAC guys were the morons that didn't know what they were doing. And so I will tell you right now, if you are getting a new HVAC system, and you ever think either you have or you ever think about getting spray foam, start asking questions early.
Right.
Like, what do you know about spray foam insulation and HVAC systems specifically? And if they can't give you very detailed information, run.
Yeah.
Go find someone else.
Well, and one of the things that I think is happening, when you have individuals that try and GC like their own home build, you start running the numbers on what things are going to cost.
Of course.
And HVAC can be one of the most expensive things. And so if you're looking at the difference between, I don't know, a $20,000 install versus like a $35,000 install. A lot of times people don't stop and ask the question, hey, why is there a $15,000 difference between yours and this guy's?
Right.
Or if you're getting like 3 bids and you're getting like 3 vastly different numbers, why is that the case?
Right.
Instead of just going, you guys are a bunch of jackasses, I'm going to go with the lowest one.
Yeah.
Because clearly the other two are trying to rip me off.
Yeah. I mean, if it seems unreasonable, act like it's unreasonable in a smart way. Or don't just turn around and go, well, that guy's out. He's way too expensive. Ask why.
Right.
Why are you more expensive? And some people will tell you, I'm just more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. Then maybe I don't use your quote.
Sure.
But if it's, I'm more expensive because I do it this way for these reasons, and if you go with a lower bid, you're going to deal with these issues. Okay. Now you go back to the other guy. This is what this guy's telling me. Counter, argue this. And if they can't, then, you've got your answer. But again, if it seems unreasonable, then don't just take it for like their word.
Right.
Ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that we're finding is like they're completely encapsulating these attics, or just they're doing the walls and then the roof decking with the spray foam, and then but they're not putting a send and return in the attic,
Right.
and it's creating mold farms,
Yeah.
in these people's homes. And I know of a couple that have had to completely move out of their homes,
Yeah.
because they have to gut them now.
Well,
take them down to the
because
studs essentially to even remediate some of this problem.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. If you are a person who is of, a certain age, you have never had the option for spray foam in a traditional home because it's a much newer product. And so here's what the HVAC guy is going to tell you. We got to put a send and return. And they're going to go, what does that mean? And he's going to go, well, you got to air condition your attic. And they're like, well, that's stupid.
Right.
I'm never going to air condition are you kidding me? All the wasted money, cold air that's going to go up into my attic, you moron. What did you smoke to get into HVAC school, right?
Yep.
And he's going to go, I actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's going to lower your bills. And oh, by the way, you're gonna have an air conditioned attic.
You can actually get up there and
You
do
can
some
actually,
work.
or if you want to store stuff up there, you can store stuff up there. Like there's so many reasons that this is a good thing, but you have to understand what happens. And one of the best analogies that Steve used that I just loved, he's like, look, go in and get a Yeti cooler, which we know they're the best.
Yep.
Any in foam insulated cooler, so much better. So take a Yeti cooler and fill it halfway full of ice and close the lid and let it sit there for 5 days. You're going to open it up and find what? Ice. Because it's still cold in there. Now, go do the very same thing. Put the very same amount of ice in it, but put a layer above it. Like even a piece of cardboard, something just above it. So now you've got a barrier and you've got two different zones now. You've got a layer of air covered and then a layer of ice. You come back after a day and the ice will be melted.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. And no, it makes perfect sense because of heat transfer.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand heat transfer, then you're not going to understand why you have to have a send and return in an attic for spray foam. So again, you're getting Craig and me on our high horse on this, not because we, are so much more intelligent than everybody else, but I have personally been through this, and Craig has learned from it, and Steve the whole time is going, yeah, Kevin, if you would have just listened to me to begin with, but I wasn't the one paying for the house, so.
Yeah. I mean, this is very reminiscent of like a pharmaceutical company telling us like which drugs should be banned when they manufacture a certain drug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, only use ours. It's the only one that should be approved. All the other ones are bad.
Yep.
And
it's exactly what it's like. No, I mean, yes, that's exactly what it's like. And we all get fired up about that.
Yep.
And especially, you mentioned it,
for these guys to be sitting in front of like the Texas House and being like, we are like completely unbiased,
right,
and have no agenda whatsoever. It's like a bull crap, dude.
Yeah.
And because like we watched the speech and he's like, yeah, in fact, some of our members actually manufacture a little foam.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, did you know that foam's not the only thing that's used for insulation? I mean, it's like not only used for insulation, it's like you use it. Like one of my clients actually manufactures foam for roof adhesive.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like and they make gobs of it.
Sure.
Like there's many uses for foam. It's
I
not
mean,
just
you
insulation.
can literally go to the store and buy this stuff called gap filler.
Yep.
What do you think it is?
Well, I mean,
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, that stuff can technically be used for insulation. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, but you could.
You could.
Yeah. I mean, if you were like, for example, I know some crazy people that have cut open like an old Igloo cooler and put gap filler.
Oh, nice.
Like they took out the foam that's in there and like put, I say foam, it's like that white stuff, right? It's like terrible insulation. Took it out, put gap filler in it. And they're like, look, we got a makeshift Yeti. It's like, no, you got a piece of junk. But
it probably worked better than the
Igloo.
Igloo.
It worked a lot better. And I'm like, oh, now look who's the idiot. It's me.
Well, since you brought it up with the gap filler, I'm going to get on like my little pedestal here.
Okay.
It really pisses me off when I go to the store and So I understand the difference between like the big gap filler and the smaller gap filler. Like this is like the 1
Yes.
inch to the 3 inch.
Yes.
Like, that makes sense to me.
Yes.
But like when it's like fire retardant and pest preventative, it's
Yeah.
like there's nothing different in the can.
No.
You're
No.
it's just a different use that you're saying
Yep.
it should be applied for. There's no pesticides in that foam.
No.
Like I've read the can. There's nothing in there
No.
that's going to prevent any bug.
I'll tell you what there is in there. Added cost.
And yeah, that's it's for
For nothing.
for marketing and for labeling.
That's right.
And for you, the sucker that's
That's
buying
right.
it.
That's right.
Like, I mean, and if
Be
I'm
informed.
wrong, reach out to me, Foam, because like,
informed.
I've read the can. There's nothing different between that can and that
Yeah.
can.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
Do it.
I will. All right. Well, that's not the only.
No, so we've also got HB3344. And I saw this going, making the rounds. Well, real quick, HB3314. This one is a little bit more like time sensitive because if it passes, and I haven't heard that it has, it will take effect on September of this year,
Okay.
September 1. So that's not that long. I mean,
No.
it's what, 5 months away?
Yeah. That's
Well, less than
close.
5 months away.
Right.
4 months away.
Yeah, it's
almost.
close.
Yeah. So that one's coming up pretty quick if it passes. So that could really change a lot of people's businesses.
Okay.
So anyway, we've got HB 3344, which is essentially a bill that's going to create a licensure for roofers in Texas. So now it doesn't change what drives Eric G up the wall, which is like GCs can still be unlicensed,
Right.
which are general contractors for you who's not following. But roofing has been the Wild West in
course.
the state for years.
I mean, how many times have we said on this show, any Joe with a hammer can put a roof on? My son could put a roof on. Your son could get up and put a roof on.
Yep. And so I understand the argument.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually have a lot of Texas roofing companies that are lobbying for this.
Sure.
And
But what kind of Texas companies?
well,
Like-
so it depends on the reason,
Okay.
right? So one, it's going depending on the licensing process and the agency and the requirements that they're going. It's inevitably going to be more cost prohibitive for larger companies.
Yeah.
Right. So they're going to be able to endure this more quickly than the smaller mom and pop roofing companies.
Right.
So the thing that it's trying to address is the storm chasers that come in from out of state.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a hurricane or a natural disaster, a fire, whatever, tornadoes in
Right.
Dallas, all those things,
Right.
all those things, and which is a big problem.
Sure. Of course it is.
And I don't know that I have a big problem with that.
Yeah, right.
I really don't.
Sure.
I'm more of a buyer beware kind of a guy. If you hire a guy without doing any due diligence on something as expensive as a roof, and then you lose your butt because they haul it back to Louisiana
Whose
before
fault
you have
is
a chance
that?
to catch them.
Yeah. Whose fault is that?
Now when it comes to like, there's situations where I feel differently about that for sure,
Yeah.
but in the aggregate,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, because those guys are scum anyway, right? Many of them are like, I say, that is really harsh. Many of those guys, though, they're coming to just take the shirt off your back.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, they're going to leave and they don't care about any ramifications because you're not going to be able to get a hold of them again.
right.
And that's a problem no matter what. So
Yes.
the point that I hear you saying that we would both agree on is just don't hire whatever
first one
Tom,
that comes
Dick,
along, yeah.
Yeah, just because someone comes to your door and says, "Oh, we're doing 3 houses on this road, we can probably get your roof replaced." Okay. Let's talk about it.
Right.
I'm fine if you talk about it, but research. Go actually talk to those other people. Get their information. Look them up. Do a little due diligence. And by the way, get multiple bids.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and do your due diligence.
the issue I'm having, and I think a lot of Texas roofers are actually being smart, and I don't begrudge them for trying to do this at all. There's a lot of benefits to being licensed, and being able to show that license to a lot of people. But the problem is, man, I don't even know how to like articulate it right.
Careful. Careful.
One of the big problems with licenses is then you bring the state into the equation, and the state is not great at checking up on stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is,
But why? Let's. Look. I'm not
for,
getting
for the same reason. Like when we were talking to Mark Ruffin, like they're putting requirements on school districts without funding them. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
They're putting rules and laws in place that they don't have the staff to actually regulate.
That's it. They don't have the ability to check up on it.
Yeah. So if you're an honorable person, you're following the rules.
Right.
Whereas there's other companies out there that are licensed that aren't following the rules,
Right.
but no one's doing anything about it to stop them, and so they have an unfair advantage because they're unethical.
Right.
So the other problem is that these roofing companies are recognizing, just like you and I have been talking about, is that insurance is about to change the game on roofs.
Yep.
Right? And so that's going to make it even more difficult for honest roofing companies to get a closed deal on a roof, because homeowners are going to be incentivized to go with the cheapest deal rather than the most researched deal and reasonable offer, because now they're having to finance these things most likely, because most people don't have 10 to 15K laying around to replace the roof. And so they're going to go with the cheaper deal and then get screwed by the guy who's willing to come in from out of town and not be licensed. And then again, run back to Oklahoma before they have a chance to do anything about it.
Yep.
And so there's all these issues going on. And so like, I don't begrudge these roofing companies for saying like, hey, like we need a fighting chance here in order to survive in our own state. When you guys are creating this Wild West situation, and you're taking away like our biggest source of income, which are the insurance companies. Right. And so now we're having to like redirect our marketing, they're going to have to set up, ways to finance these roofs.
Not roofies.
Roofies. Yeah, that's a whole, you can't finance those. You got to pay cash.
Yeah, right.
But like, there's this whole ecosystem that's just getting shook in Texas right now. And I think they're trying to do the best that they can for their own industry. And I don't know that it's the right way to do it. I don't. I mean, it could be.
Because here's what's crazy. You talk to a guy like Eric G., good friend of ours. Shout out to Eric. And he's going, guys, you want the license. The license is good. It actually helps.
I think you do. I think you do in Oregon. I think you do in Oregon.
But that's what I was going to say. But I think you have to put everything into context. Yeah. You have to put everything into an understanding of our system isn't built to sustain licensures in Texas. Yeah. It's just not. Now,
it's not as much of a bureaucratic state as Oregon or California or New York or any of the and so like you can say that it's an advantage because these have been like democratically run states for a long time, and they're willing to build the bureaucracy to have the infrastructure for these kinds of systems. Well, like, okay, we're just not.
No.
And so like what happens when you introduce an imposition on business owners and operators without a bureaucracy with any teeth to do anything about it?
Right.
And like, don't take my word for it. I mean, look, we just got done talking about air conditioning.
Right.
You want to talk about an industry, like a bureaucratic system in Texas that doesn't really have a whole lot of teeth to check on these guys?
Sure.
I'm not saying that they don't have to go through these tests and regulations and stuff. I've talked to some guys in the air conditioning business, like how often are you checked?
Right.
Right.
Not often.
I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying ask them.
Yep.
Because I'll tell you in mine, like we don't get checked that often.
Right.
And it's because there's too many of us and not enough of them.
Yep.
And I'll tell you how this plays out in my business. And this is, it's not a complaint. It's just the way it is my biggest competitor are not other pest control companies. My biggest competitor is landscaping businesses that don't have licenses, that carry around sacks of, diazinon
Yeah.
to treat fire ants, and backpack sprayers with God knows what's in it,
Yep.
spraying people's lawns.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and like, there's nothing I can do about it.
Nope.
And when I go to my representatives about that, and I tell them, like, what do I do? And they say, report them
Right.
to you.
Right.
Like, they're not even part of our department.
Yep.
And they're like, well, if we know who they are, we might be able to go find them. And I'm like, I don't even know who they are.
Right.
Like, I can take a picture.
Right.
But like, then you're just going off my word that
That's
I
right.
saw them do this.
Uh-huh.
And like, I know nothing's going to happen.
Sure.
So why
But
do
they're
it?
but they're going to regulate that too before too long. And so that's I guess the point is in all of these things, what you as a home here's where the rubber meets the road for you as a homeowner. We can get on our high horses pretty easily about this kind of stuff, and we could bring in roofers, and we could bring in Steve or other insulation guys, and we can talk about all this. But truly, do your research.
That's what needs to happen at the end of the day.
Before you hire someone. I don't care if you talk to 3 people or if you talk to one person. Do your research.
Yeah.
And if you if you go to True Texas Solar and you talk to them for the first time about a roof and they give you all the right answers and you test it, you fact check it, you go check them out, you talk to their, references that they've got, you do whatever online information you need to figure out, and they check out, hire them.
Yeah.
But do your research.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then what's going to happen is it will continue to get worse, because here's the truth. The more people that do it the right way will drive those other companies out. Even if you wind up, look, if you have to pay more to get your roof done right, you will save money most of the time, because otherwise you're going to have to hire them anyway to get it fixed whenever it was done incorrectly.
Right.
Same thing with the insulation stuff. You get something put in and it's not done right, you're going to have to get somebody else out there to get it fixed anyway.
Right.
So get it done right to begin with. You're going to save money, and it will, I promise you, it will counter the problem, because they will have to go away if they're not making money. Right?
Yeah.
But we're almost going to have to band together in this in order to, to go, look, and it's hard. It's hard to say, hey, go spend more money. It's not about spending more money. It's spending the right money.
Yeah.
That's really where it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't agree with that more. It's just like, let's just do your research.
Yeah.
Do the thing that's going to be best for you. Don't worry about spend. I think you said it really well. Spend the right money.
Yeah. Spend the right money.
And sometimes that's waiting to find the right frog to kiss.
Yep. Which is tough too. We live in a society, in a culture, not a society,
an impatient culture.
Yes, that just says I need it now, I need it today. Amazon will get it to me here in a day, if not 2. And if I have to wait more than 2, oh my goodness, right? And so it's tough, because we find a problem, we want to fix it right now. And you can either go that route and wish you didn't, or you could listen to us and get it done the right way to begin with.
Yeah.
And look, I'm also not going to sit here and tell you that if you do all your research, you'll never have a problem.
No,
because 2 things are true in life. Number 1, nothing is always true. With rare exception, nothing is almost never true, right? So, always true. And so the second thing is people make mistakes.
Yeah.
So the good guys, again, you spend the right money, the good guys will fix it.
Right.
Because they're going to answer the phone whenever you call them back, right? So the right money is still the right money. And if you have to finance a little bit more, finance a little bit more. This goes to insurance too. Do your research on your insurance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to get saddled with some of this that you weren't prepared for either. So we actually got a letter today in the mail that said your insurance coverage is not sufficient for your mortgage.
Oh.
And it said something about some of the coverage that we have is supposed to be either 100% of this value or 80% of that value, whichever is greater. Well, I don't even know if it's accurate. So I'm digging into my policy and I'm getting a hold of my agent and going, hey, is this actually true? But I'll tell you right now, if it's insufficient, I'm gonna start doing some research.
Yeah.
Before I add anything, because once you start adding stuff or changing stuff, your policy can go wonky on
No,
you.
you have no experience with that.
So right. So just be careful. Again, do your research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got anything on this? Anything else on this?
No, I think we're good. I will say this. There is someone who's commenting here and saying, got in late, came to the show late. Did you say spray foam does not insulate?
No. Did not say that.
Not anywhere close. Go back and listen to the beginning of it. We not only do we say that it's insulation, it's superior.
We think it's a
Right.
far superior insulation.
Absolutely.
When done properly.
Right. When done properly.
Yeah.
By the right people.
Yeah.
Done
Done poorly, it can be a freaking nightmare.
Yeah. Right.
But not necessarily the fault of the spray foamer.
Right. No. And again, it's just, look, do your research. That's all we're saying. That's the main thing. And our friend Lakin actually just messaged in and said, I'm dealing with a client right now who didn't update her policy. House fire has happened, unfortunately. And the policy coverage is not sufficient to cover her build. So that's exactly right. Just check and make sure you got everything right.
So does that mean, like, in a situation like that, and you don't have to respond, like, and I'm just curious for the insurance people listening, like, does that mean that they're going to get some money, but it's not sufficient to rebuild, or is it like they're just not going to get anything?
Yeah, it's curious.
Like,
I don't know.
Like when you don't have the right coverage, does the insurance company look at that and go like, nope, we're not doing anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it's still going to pay out. It's just not going to. My guess is it's just not going to be sufficient.
Come out of pocket for the rest of it.
But if it's not sufficient, like, your options are pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if you only, like, let's say it is 80%. If you only get 80%,
yeah.
Well, goodness, if you got a $400,000 house, 80%'s pretty stinking. That 20%'s a lot.
This is something that I find that's interesting with insurance.
Yeah, she said they only receive their policy coverage amount.
Okay, so at least they got something. Better. I mean, I hate that happened, but like, hopefully that helps.
Sure.
Get them somewhere close. And gosh,
that's terrible.
House fires are worst.
Yeah, for sure.
But so one of the big things that people do around here is they petition their property values in order to contest their property taxes.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and so then
that's a catch-22.
It is, and then it gets even worse. So then you use that to get your property values for your insurance.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and I think we've talked about this before, is like if that policy is set in place for that value of that house, if the actual market to material to rebuild that is not sufficient, you're not going to get enough money to rebuild the house should something happen to it. So you've kind of, in one sense, by wanting to pay less taxes, which I totally understand. Look, sure. I'm one of those guys. I'm not saying I can test my property values all the time, but I weasel my way out of as many taxes as possible.
Sure.
But like, you can get yourself into a situation where, kind of like what Lakin's talking about, where you're not going to get enough money to rebuild your house because you have done so many things in order to devalue your property in the eyes of your county or whatever it is that you've got going on. And then your insurance company is going to, work off of those numbers.
Yeah.
Well, like when your house was built, it may have cost, I don't know what the going rate is now. It's like $110 a square foot or something like that to build a house.
No.
I mean, like, what is it? What is it? I don't know.
Am
I way off?
Way low. I mean, on average, you're like good price, like super low, 160 to 200 on a custom home.
Okay, so I wasn't like mountains away.
Well, you start spreading that out over 2,000
I thought you were going to say it was like
feet.
$2,000.
No, but 2,000 square feet. I mean, you're spending an extra $50.
Sure.
That turns out to be a lot.
Sure. All right, I'm looking it up real quick.
But I mean, I don't know. Lakin may even tell me I'm wrong. But typically, if you're going custom, you may be able to find something for less than that if you're doing a ready built type home. But 160 to 200 is average.
Let's see here.
See what Craig comes up with.
Okay, so it depends. Like
It don't always depends.
$150 to $500 per square foot.
500. Okay.
I mean, like that's not helpful at all.
But it's all because, okay, are you going to build a barn shell with a concrete floor?
okay, here we go.
Or are you going to put some...
Basic track or spec home around $200 to $300 per square foot. Custom home with good finishes $250 to $500 per square foot. Luxury custom home $400 to $600 per square foot.
But again, you're where?
No, this is specific to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's dealing specifically, like it's pulling the numbers from metropolitans like Austin, Dallas, Houston.
Sure.
Which oddly enough, San Antonio is not including there. Apparently, the houses there are just crap.
Yeah. Of course.
It's bringing the numbers down so they don't include it.
We've done some of those evaluations. We've done some shows on that too. But Lakin actually said they're looking at an offset 40. They're having to offset 40 to 50,000 that she's having to cover because she didn't update her coverage based off current building price point. So that's the point that I think is so important. It's like let's say you did get a home 10 years ago, and you have an issue.
Right.
Well, 10 years ago, your replacement value is
totally different.
Way different.
Yeah.
So
thank you, COVID.
yeah, update them. And that's that's the thing. We got a letter. We're looking into it. I'm not just going to be like, oh, whatever. I mean, first of all, I think my mortgage is going to require it. But even still, like, I want it. I want to be covered.
Right.
No matter what.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, you don't want to be left out with that big matzo ball.
No. Nowhere. I mean, 40 to 50K that they're having to offset because of this. I mean, that's
no, like hardly anybody has that sitting in the bank.
No.
I mean, like what?
Maybe a home equity loan. If you've got 10 years in your home, maybe you've got a home equity loan that you can get or something, a HELOC that you can do something with, but most people don't.
Hang on.
So
I want to get this number right.
So the insurance company actually evaluated her home to be built back for more than what she was covered per the estimate by the insurance company, but still, she's still upside down on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the number I just pulled up is that 78% of Americans are reported to be living paycheck to paycheck. So that means like zero savings.
Well, especially today, over the last 10 years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's not shocking to me. It should be shocking, but it's not. I would like it to be shocking.
Well, and like of the 22% that aren't living paycheck to paycheck, that doesn't mean that they've got a lot of money in the bank.
Right. Of course.
That just means they're not living paycheck to. It means they have some savings.
Sure.
That could be like 10 grand.
Right. Right. No, it doesn't have to. Yeah. Right.
So
anyway, well, we have gone longer than we anticipated tonight. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you, phoning in here, Lakin, and no shirt, no shoes, no shirt, no problem, guy. Thank you for listening, for being part of our show today. If we can ever, answer some questions for you, please send us a message and like us, subscribe to all the channels. We appreciate you very much. Until next time, we'll see you later.
See you.